Hello and welcome to NLG Talks. Yet another episode we are talking, and this time we are going uh, on a video format as well. And nice to see Akshat joining in us on this episode. And this episode we are recording to know more about Akshat Agrawal, who is joining in from Goldratt Consulting. We have fantastic questions lined up, which I would love to ask Akshat in this episode. And before starting the podcast, before starting this episode, I would like to ask Akshat a small intro about yourself to our audience, so that we can also get familiar with you.
Yeah, thanks, Jason, and it's pretty exciting to be part of this podcast series.
Thank you.
Yeah, brief about me. I am working with Goldratt Consulting for last 10 years. Right now, I'm working here as a part of consulting team, leading the consulting engagements in manufacturing distribution, specifically in the GCC region. Um, um, Prior to joining Goldratt Consulting, 10 years I worked in various corporates, mostly in the sourcing, supply chain kind of a domain. And then I changed my career track altogether and joined GC. And it's been quite exciting. I've worked with companies in China, India, Middle East, a lot of
Yeah.
transformational projects. So, yeah, it's going great.
Fantastic. And today I have just focused on introduction session. So I would like to know more about your activities as a consulting director and head of manufacturing practice in Goldratt. So I have named today's podcast as PLOCCI, Plocky we call it. Purpose, I want to know the purpose, the leadership, the optimization, the collaboration, complexity, and impact. So we'll cover these segments today by asking very few basic questions, which I would like to ask you. The first question I wanted to ask you is, what is that inspiration which led to join Goldratt Consulting, and how does its mission and philosophy align with your larger career goals?
Yeah, pretty elaborate question, Jason. So, you see, inspiration is more coming from the love for theory of constraints.
Yeah.
Okay. I got to know of theory of constraints when I was doing my MBA. And fortunately, I decided to do my MBA after having certain work experience. So I worked in the corporate for 5 years, and then I took a break and did my MBA. Now, in that, during the MBA days, I got to know a lot of frameworks, a lot of interesting frameworks, strategy frameworks, transformational frameworks, and it was all pretty exciting. But there was this lingering thought in the mind that I know how the organization work because of my work experience. And when you
Yeah.
read this, it's all great. When you read it, it's all pretty exciting. But then, there was something missing, that how do you really put it in execution? And is it really implementable, or is it really depends on who is implementing it rather than the framework itself? So a lot of these
Right.
doubts were there. And I was fortunate that I got introduced to TOC through one of my colleague or friend in the MBA, who implemented theory of constraints in Tata Steel.
Okay.
Okay, Tata Steel was apparently one of the first implementation that was done by Dr. Goldratt himself in India. And he gave me this book, The Goal, and I just managed to read it. And what attracted me the most was the simple approach with which the whole thing was explained,
Yeah.
and how logical and how commonsensical it was. So I was pretty much hooked to it, and then I kept on reading more about it. I did a lot of certifications. I also, post my MBA, did some of the work in the area of work, whatever I did in sourcing and supply chain. I found it pretty exciting. So once you get hooked to TOC, and once you understand the commonsensical approach, Goldratt Consulting was a natural choice.
Okay.
Because they are the founders of the knowledge, right? So the number of implementations and the amount of opportunity you get within the organization to work in different sets of companies, so that there was no inspiration really required for that
Right.
to to get into GC. So that's pretty exciting there. And in Goldratt Consulting, I think the way they approach any implementation or any engagement is, what can you really achieve a breakthrough results. It's not about incremental results. Of course, you will get benefits in whatever way you do. If you put your mind, you can improve anything.
Right.
But then that improvement, can it be really breakthrough, which you people are, not even thought of, or
Correct.
seems like uh, impossible. So those kind of things, when you start doing and implementing, then I think you automatically get inspired.
So we know your purpose now, and theory of constraints we'll understand in detail in the coming podcast as well. For the layman, would you like to just give us what is theory of constraints in just a statement? That's it.
Yeah, theory of constraints. If you simply see, it's how you can know what is the element of the whole system, which is really governing the way system is behaving,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And then working on that on that lever or the governing point, which we call it constraint.
Yes. So let's keep it that as a very big suspense for the listeners in the coming podcast. Just that would do, and let the listeners explore more on theory of constraints. I have started reading the book The Goal, and it's amazing. And I would love to have the listeners who have joined with us. If you get a copy of The Goal, please do read that book as well. Now let's understand the leadership aspect from Akshat. What are the key responsibilities of a consulting director? I know that you're working as a consulting director in GC. And what are the key responsibilities attached to it? And what are the skills or experiences which are considered for that role if somebody wants to pursue that role?
I have a very, very simple role, and I have a very, very clearly defined responsibility. And I think it falls into four areas.
Okay.
The first one is, of course, to deliver results.
Okay.
Right? You are engaging with the client, and you have done some commitment, so you have to deliver results.
Right.
And probably that's the most simpler thing to achieve, because the tool itself is so powerful that if you do it right,
Yeah.
you will get the results, right?
Yeah.
So that's one area. Second, once you have delivered the results, you have to also look into the business as a whole. So I have also the responsibility to add more clients to the region,
Yes.
and to get more engagement, which happens naturally as the region develops, as you have more clients who sees the results. So through the natural word of mouth, you get more and more projects. The main activity that I spend a lot of time on is building people. How do you have a set of team who's really understanding, or who has internalized the knowledge? It's
Okay.
not just about a tool that you use. It's really understanding in depth why that tool, how that tool is, and how it gets operated. So that's where a lot of my time gets spent. And then once the team is developed, once you've delivered the results, you have to expand the knowledge base. TOC is not static. So you have to continuously learn from the environments. Each of the implementation that we do gives us a lot of opportunity to learn, because every implementation has got its own uniqueness to it. So
Absolutely.
you understand from there, and then you build on to that knowledge base.
Yeah.
So very very interesting, and pretty exciting thing to do. And these are the four areas which I majorly work on.
So you rightly mentioned the P element, the people, the collaboration, getting to know with engagement. That's very important, and I think that is one of the skill which, as a consulting director, I think is to be pursued, or that is the skill development which the listeners can also pursue in their career. Now we know about the leadership skill which you have got now. Now let's understand the optimization which you are doing for the manufacturing sector. Can you describe the primary consulting activities you engage in within this sector you are handling, and how does Goldratt Consulting approach problem solving in this environment?
Yeah, see, the approach that we take is always a holistic approach. We
Okay.
never look at a problem in isolation.
Okay.
Like if you go to a doctor, if you have a stomach ache, there can be multiple reasons for that. So
Absolutely.
unless you understand that, and you deliver, you act on that, you really don't get the results. Even if you get the results, it'll be temporary. That thing
Right.
will come. And so we have an holistic approach to what we do. Um, Typically, our engagements are broken down into three areas. It depends on how, at the level of which, how the client is looking into it. potential clients are looking into it. Some of the clients says that, I want to test it. I'm not really sure. I've read it, it's exciting, but I'm still not sure. I want to test it. So
Yeah.
for that, we have something called, we call it hackathon. It's a 2-day program wherein we sit with them, understanding their one or two particular problems which they have been struggling with, use the TOC thinking process, the approaches that we have with a set of consultants, and then within 2 or 3 days we come up with a very implementable solution of specific to that problem, and then they are implementing it on their own. So that's just like testing the waters.
Hackathon.
Once they, hackathon, and once they get the confidence, or sometimes client says that I know TOC will work, and I know my problem. Like one of the clients which we worked with in India very recently, they said that my problem is I know how to grow. Okay,
Yeah.
I know how to expand business. I can grow multifolds, but as I keep growing, my receivables keep growing at the same rate. Right now, if my receivables keeps growing at the same rate, and if I grow and I don't have any control on that, I know very soon I will not be having stability at all. I will
Yeah.
fall off my own weight. So they know their problem, right? And but they don't know how to actually do it, how to actually make the change. Sometimes clients also know that this is what needs to be done, but they don't know how to make that change.
Right.
So we call that as a functional implementation, where we also understand and agree with them that yes, this is the set of problems which needs to be worked upon, and
Right.
and then we help the client to give the direction. There's another set of client which is more interesting implementation that we do, is where they say that I know these are my capabilities, I know these are the potentials that I have, I know these are my weaknesses, but somehow I'm not able to work with that, and
Yeah.
I'm getting stuck. My business is not growing, or I don't know how to change the track in which the company is growing. So that's an holistic implementation that we do.
So the visibility is not there.
Yeah, they know something needs to be changed. They know that the way they are growing needs to be changed, but they're not very clear of the problem, right?
Yeah.
So that's the holistic implementation, where while in all of the three cases we will look into the company as a whole, but we will intentionally decide to work on a certain area. But in this holistic implementation, we would work for a longer period of time with a much more bigger, deeper impact on the company as a whole.
Right.
And that's very fulfilling. I mean, these implementations, it will go through different stages,
Right.
and each stage will give the company a different jump.
Love the idea of hackathon. It's where you test before you implement, and amazing. So we know now about the optimization part and how Akshat is dealing in the manufacturing sector, how he's engaging with the client. Now let's talk about collaboration. And you mentioned that in the previous question as well, some part of it. Your clients, maintaining relationship with your clients is very important. And that should be continuous in nature, and that should be long term as well, and repetitive as well. So how do you establish and maintain relationship with your clients, especially in building and leading a consulting team?
Yeah. Jason, that's a very interesting question, and I think that happens.
Yeah.
There is no separate effort that we put to specifically say now this effort is towards collaboration. I mean,
Okay.
without collaboration, you can't do anything. I mean, collaboration is a part of it. It's part of the whole thing that we do. Now, there are different ways in which we engage, which is how you say which we collaborate. So there are a set of clients who are not yet working on TOC. They are still pre-implementation, pre-TOC, right? They're exploring and thinking. So there we try and build champions. We have many events that keeps happening. We have many sessions with them where internally people know what is TOC, how TOC can help them, and we keep engaging with them in different ways through different sessions, workshops. We call them as champions. Once there are these champions who understand TOC, they also understand the problems, and then they discuss with the leadership team, and then they explain. So we get into a formal engagement. Now, in the formal engagement, we have a very, very clear way of how things are implemented. We have clear milestones. For each milestone, we explain to them what are the possible results that can come out of the solution that we do. What negative can happen to the business if that happens? What could go wrong possibly? But at the same time, we always built a feedback loop. Suppose the implementation takes, let's say, 2 months or 3 months time for some particular solution element. For each of the solution element, there will be a feedback loop. You don't say, okay, after 3 months only we will know what's happening. As you during a shorter period of time, you will see how the things have happened. Has it really changed? Really changed? So they're pretty confident they're on the right track. And if you are not, you have enough time to course correct, which is what gives the client a lot of confidence that what we are telling, we know what we're telling, and we are on the right track. And they have a lot of opportunity to explain that this is the environment they are in, or this is the course correction required. And post the implementation is over, then I think it's more of they engaging with us, where they kind of, if the results are sustainable or not, whatever we have done, can it be sustained, if they need more support there. So it's around that. But in general, there is no specific thing on collaboration. We do that. This is only collaboration. It's not it's part of the whole thing.
Right. So it's a stage by stage approach, but right from the word go, collaboration is there.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
It's the whole thing around it. You cannot do anything without collaboration. Even in the way you are building your team, right? It's also a collaboration. So we say, I think the main essence we put to our team is, you have to make your seniors redundant. So you're a part of the team. You have to make sure that whatever you do, the seniors are not required. So that way you grow to the next level as a person and as a team member, and then the senior has now more time to do something else.
Focusing on more strategic. Yeah.
Focus on more. So that's how everyone grows. So the simple rule is you have to save the time of your seniors.
Yeah.
And that's how you make the people grow and collaborate.
Yeah, building the team, it's a big challenge, but at the same time, it's the most rewarding nature when you invest the time on it. Yeah, and let's come to the core essence where you are managing the manufacturing consulting. How do you see the complexity in nature or in the manufacturing consulting business, and how do you foresee this landscape evolving in the future? Do you see any challenges which you are trying to solve, but it's growing in nature, or do you see in the coming 10 years or maybe 5 years, this sector is going to have a boom in the coming recent developments with post-COVID, maybe post-COVID developments and pre-COVID? You can touch base on both as well.
I would go a little more deeper, Jason, in terms of how a manufacturing organization operates.
Yeah.
So typically, any manufacturing firm is driven to build efficiency in the way they are working, right? So they want to be more and more efficient. And each of the way to be more and more efficient is make sure that they get maximum output from each of the resources they have put. Right. Because typically any manufacturing organization is a very capital intensive setup. So if you have put money, if you have put money, you want to drive maximum out of it, right? But that's the mindset. Now there is a big challenge when you operate with this kind of mindset, and whereas your customers are now looking for more and more variety. Okay, you cannot simply say that I will give only this to you. You have to customize to the requirements, and more customizations your clients are requesting for.
Right.
And another thing is they are requesting these things much faster. You cannot say I will take this much time. The lead time for in any industry you pick, the lead time which they were expecting earlier is versus now huge change.
Is yesterday, yeah.
Yes, of course, it's yesterday. So high customization, shorter lead time.
Yeah.
These two, if you combine, the amount of opportunity you have to make money from the new products that you develop is much shorter. The window of opportunity to make money is much shorter. And this, any manufacturing organization is currently facing. They are working with this mindset of high efficiency, but the way market is changing is forcing them to become inefficient. Because the more variety, the shorter lead time, you have to do a lot of changeovers, you have to add more inputs. You are forced to become inefficient. So there is this lot of conflict that happens in the management. Is how do you balance it?
I think with the evolving technology also, there is a lot of changes, and you're forced to change yourself.
You are forced to change, but you see, Jason, if it is about using a software and all, it's much easier. What I'm talking about is changing the mindset. We grow with a certain mindset. Now you can't simply change it. You will struggle with it, you'll fight with it, but changing the mindset is the most difficult thing,
Persistence,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. So what I'm seeing is this force of market becoming much stronger, and people are not ready to change the mindset. So they're trying to do is they're trying to find a way out
Okay.
by putting a lot of softwares, by putting a lot of training to the team members, by putting a lot of organizational change. It is
Right.
giving all the results, but it is not really changing the situation. It's like, treating the symptoms whereas the real problem is somewhere else.
Right.
So we have worked with some of the organizations who were struggling with this, and while it takes time to change the mindset, the way we do it is, not is put in a processes which, even if you operate with that mindset, it allows you to course correct. The process itself will course correct the way the process is set, right? And you see huge impact once you have done this, because now you're able to be efficient, at the same time deliver to what market needs, right? So
Right.
this is the power of TOC, and I see this need increasing in manufacturing segments. And I eventually, I think this is where I see pre-COVID, post-COVID. Yes, post-COVID, the I think the COVID time was fantastic
Yeah.
because from the point of view of organizations really pausing and thinking that they need to change.
Yeah.
Something needs to change. I think that realization has occurred that they need to change. Things are going to be much more challenging,
Yeah.
and they have tested the waters during the COVID time, because they were forced to change,
Right.
and then I see most of the organization going back to the old way of working, right?
Yeah.
So how
Yeah.
can they still be flexible and meet the market requirements is where a lot of our efforts in GC is going to have those organizations where we can really implement these change in mindsets.
Yeah, many organizations failed during COVID time, and those organizations who stood firm, rethinking, being resilient, I think they cannot fear any more challenges in the coming times. I mean, that was the
Right.
most challenging time. You're on the spot, yeah. So that is the complexity about the whole business. Now let's focus on impact before closing our podcast today. What do you find most rewarding? That this is, I put this question at the end because about all those hard work. As a head of manufacturing consulting, what is the most rewarding piece about your role, and what are your goals for the next maybe 1 year? I would not say 5 years, but next 1 year in this segment.
Yeah, Jason, I think for me and probably for a lot of us in GC,
Okay.
you see, when you do these things, when you really put those transformational changes in the organization, it's not about the results. You see the people's life changing.
Right.
Some of the people, they really, when you something changes in them. The
Right.
way the confidence with which they talk, the confidence which they operate, and they talk about TOC, that this is what has happened to us. So that kind of really kind of, what do you call it? It really makes you happy. It really makes you feel, oh man, yeah, this is something which you have delivered. That spark in the, what do you call it? Smile that they come that brings. No,
Yeah.
it's really fantastic. Coming to the next 1 year, 2 year period, or immediately, I think we are looking into this GCC region to really grow. We have few clients here, a few of the very known clients. We have got some great case studies even in this region. I would like to have a few of the clients who really are looking for those transformational changes and are ready to rethink about their mindset, are open to the change,
Right.
or to see the things in a very different perspective,
Right.
right? And we would eventually like to build few lighthouse implementations here in
Okay.
GCC, which kind of really showcase what TOC can deliver, what kind of transformations are possible, and as in GC we say breakthrough results.
Yeah.
It's the real breakthrough results, how we can achieve in a shorter time, and then I think it will all happen.
Yeah. So I think with the course of time, you are already penetrating and you are already making breakthrough results. And with a visionary leadership, I am sure that this is going to be next level in this GCC area as well. I think you will reap success in the coming days. Uh, Great. Nice talking to Akshat. Have a fantastic year ahead. And this was the first podcast, and we are coming up with lots of podcasts. We'll speak about a lot of different subjects with
I
Year
look
of
forward.
Constance. Yeah, and have a great day. Wishing you all the best. Thanks for joining
Thanks.
NLG Talks for today.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks. Take care.